I guess just in case like you have like a racist boss that doesn't know he's being live streamed on Facebook.
Yeah, that's
feels,
exactly what that is.
It feels like the best way to do it.
That
usually
where the entire school board meeting where they didn't know they were live and they were just bad mouthing the parents for like 20 minutes before someone was like, guys, we're live. And they're like,
yeah, right. Well, it's out there now.
Yeah, it's but I don't know, it's my experience that most racists will just be racist loudly and not really care.
No,
maybe they'll get annoyed when someone calls them on it because they'll be like, oh, they saw me.
When they get fired from like Dave's Tire World, they suddenly care.
Yeah. All right, ready?
Yeah, I was like, you gonna introduce us?
Nah, this week we'll just run. All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen out there in Radio Land. This is those Muckrakers coming to you once again through the power of the internet. I'm Pat.
I'm Pete.
I'm Bobby.
And we are live on episode 129. Tell them what we're going to be doing this time, Pete.
Somebody asked a question the other day. They were like, what is your podcast about? And I'm like, I don't actually know. Politics?
The genre for a long time, I did set it under news and politics, especially at the beginning when we had more of a laser focus on news. Like every week we had 5 or 6 like major news stories to cover. Eventually I changed it from news to comedy because a lot of what we started to talk about got closer and closer to like, let's say it's not exactly death threats, but death threats adjacent. So I'm like, oh, but if we call it comedy, then we can be like, we're just joking, Your Honor. Clearly the genre says comedy. So then I started setting the genre to comedy.
We're like Bill Maher, but funny and less shitty.
Yeah. So what is this about? Like it was supposed to, in the beginning, supposed to just be like us talking about whatever the news beats were for that week. But these days we don't have like the 100 new Trump stories before noon like we did the last 4 years, right?
Well, today
so we don't have that nonstop nationwide heart attack to deal with. So it's just like Biden still has low poll numbers. Like
I do like that our podcast outlasted Trump. That made me feel a little better.
I
think at this point we're just doing this podcast so Wesley can keep up with what's going on in the world.
Yeah, it's nice. It's something good for Wesley to do. It lets him get to see us every now and again too. He gets lonely.
I will say this week is basically the week of like which racist like murder trial is going on between like Rittenhouse and the 2 idiots, the 3 idiots that shot Ahmaud Arbery.
Yeah, but that one's actually going well. Like that's
About the thing I've kept up with this week is I already mentioned Biden's sagging poll numbers. There's the rioters, more of them are getting caught. Some of them have some fantastic excuses for why they shouldn't go to jail. My favorite being this one guy saying that he has like a trip to Europe planned. It's all expenses paid. And that's a very rare thing for someone to have, Your Honor. So clearly he can't go to prison. He has plans. He has stuff to do. It's like, do I have to explain why that's no excuse for trying to overthrow the government?
There was another guy that said he didn't know jail was he didn't know jail was so bad. Like I'm like, you've never even if you're a privileged white man, you've never seen Oz. You know what I mean? Like you haven't watched HBO.
The movie Let's Go to Prison, where the 2 people are talking in the bunk, and he's like, well, what do we do now? And he's like, well, have you ever been in a really uncomfortable situation and people describe it as being like jail? Well,
that is one of my favorite quotes. He's like, yeah, have you ever been somewhere that's horrible and confining for an indeterminate period of time? And if people go, this is like prison, well, welcome to prison.
Yeah.
This guy just, how do you, even in popular culture, like everyone's like, yeah, jail's bad.
Yeah, it's really, really bad. Like your life is put on pause for however long you're there. And while you're there, all you do is sit in a very tiny room in a very hostile environment.
Am I the only one that watches all those like locked up Raw shows?
Yeah, I think you're the only person still watching those.
I can't not watch those. Like, but they're getting more and more desperate. Like they've started doing like Locked Up Wisconsin Supermax. And I'm like, how hardcore is the crime scene in Wisconsin?
Oh, well, I mean, a lot of states have, it's like they'll, if you commit a violent enough crime, you don't even get to go to jail in your own state. You have to get shipped out somewhere else. So Wisconsin might be twinned with like Florida, and they're getting all the crazies.
Oh no, if they're getting people from Florida, then that's rough.
They did
Georgia sends some of its prisoners to West Virginia. I think.
They
I know
did.
Remember the Savannah police chief who got arrested for like being
Love
a complete dink?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in West Virginia.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, the guy that got caught with the illegal gambling and stuff like that. Yeah. I forget his name, but yeah.
Willie Lovett. I remember that.
Savannah's had a really hard time of it with police chiefs. Our one right now, he's pretty good, but like.
Well, they got the guy from LA when I lived in Savannah. He was there for a few years, then he took off. And I think that's why they got Lovett. And Lovett apparently was just
that was his name.
Yeah. Lovett was just Lovett was just a pile of garbage in a police uniform somehow. Like, and they made him the police chief.
Somehow. Let's pretend like a lot of police uniforms are not just filled with piles of garbage.
Yeah. I mean, it's the standard. It's the industry standard.
It'd be way better if it was just two kids in a trench coat.
Right. Pretending to be police chief.
They just happen to get the job, and then they have to keep showing up every day.
I am the police chief. One ticket for a movie, please. I am not two children inside a police chief's outfit.
If they could like learn to like, what do you call it? Shoot. Imagine that someone like pulls a gun on him, and 4 guns get pulled on him suddenly.
Mm-hmm. But then kids would probably be more empathetic than most police officers.
Or at the very least, their empathy level would be about the same because kids don't have developed empathy yet. But so
whereas police chiefs have deliberately smothered it.
I didn't know prison was so bad. What? Like, it's just
jail's bad. Wait till you go to prison.
Yeah. Savannah was on one of those locked up raw shows. The Chatham County Jail Complex, which
that for some reason keeps killing inmates for no reason, and no one's at fault, and there's no one to blame. Please stop asking questions.
Yeah. He strangled himself and then threw himself over a railing and then tased himself to death. All by himself. No, that complex is particularly
footage. Those cameras were turned off for undocumented maintenance.
They were turned around. The cameras were actually turned around and covered for maintenance.
Yeah, exactly. You have to protect the camera from maintenance while maintenance.
Yeah, they were turned around
naturally
only for the amount of time that the murder happened, but then they were fixed. Yeah. I actually did contractor work inside that jail complex, and it's terrifying.
Did you?
Yeah. I worked
for this like back when you and Ozzy were working for what was the guy's name?
No, this was after that. This is when we were all living in Savannah. But like, I found out that jail complex is what's so dangerous is because it's like you got a noise violation, and for some reason the judge held you in contempt of court. Right? You're doing like your 2 weeks next to a guy that axe murdered his dad and is sitting there waiting to go to like hardcore prison in West Virginia.
Why is a noise violation being punished more harshly than a lot of these insurrectionists?
Probably because the noise violation person wasn't a white guy. I would guess that would be my first.
Probably.
In this imagine,
it's like Steve Bannon's going to get like 2 years in jail.
That's actually nice. I like he's being held for contempt of Congress. Finally.
I'm glad that he's facing some consequences, and I'm glad that Trump's not still president to just be able to pardon him like he did everyone else. Like, if one thing I wish that presidents had the power to do is just like unpardon people. That way Biden could like wave his hand and put Manafort and God, what's the guy who looked like a Batman villain?
Michael Stone. Roger Stone.
Roger Stone. Yeah, that one.
He doesn't
back
just
in
look
prison.
like a Batman villain. He is an actual Batman villain. Like just come to life from the pages.
I have this riddle for you, Batman. You must solve it, or the Commissioner Gordon's going to get it.
Yeah. So, the January 6th. It's like that lady that was on camera at the January 6th riots. They had maced her, and she was being interviewed. And then they redid her interview to the Animaniacs where she's like, we were storming the Capitol. They pushed me out and maced me.
They pushed me out and maced me. I saw that.
That actually got DCMA'd by Warner Brothers because they were like, we don't want, it was the Gregory brothers who did it, Scotch Moyo, the same people that did Auto-Tune, that still do Auto-Tune the News, or Songify the News as they call it now. Warner Brothers was like, do not conflate any of our properties with these fucking assholes. Like,
but she was just so.
If you don't take it down, we will sue you into the ground. It's still floating around there because of the Streisand effect. But
she was just so surprised.
It's the internet. That nothing ever disappears.
She was so shocked that they pushed her out and maced her. Like, it blew her mind.
Yeah, literally, things like that are not supposed to happen to people like me.
It's interesting. I'm reading I'm like deep into researching Washington right now for a different podcast. I hope one day gets off the ground about the presidents. But I've gone into reading about the American Revolutionary Army, and the same dumb shit that these January 6 people believe. Have I talked about this before?
I'm not sure.
A bunch of people believed about the American militiamen. So the idea was we were going to whip the British with just the valor of citizen soldiers. Their valor would be worth more than all the training of a regular army. And we were just going to come out, and with just the power of our patriotism, we were going to beat the British back.
I mean, is that not what happened?
That's what they, so after the war, that's what they told everybody happened, when in reality, Washington has all these letters going, yeah, this is all bullshit. We need a real army. And like a bunch of people at the beginning were like, but the Patriots' love will overtake anything. And it did.
Canada. Sounds like anime, right? Like with the power of friendship, we will overcome whatever we want to do.
And that's the power of love.
But no, George Washington with Super Saiyan, and Cornwall was just like, it's over 9,000.
Yeah, exactly.
9,000.
How many men does Washington have? Over 9,000. Yeah.
That's all they needed to get through Valley Forge. Was they needed every patriot in the 13 colonies to just clap and believe in their heart that Washington can do it, and they did.
And like the problem is, through feeding that stupid misconception through history, now these people see themselves as like the modern day, like we're Washington's army and we're going to overwhelm the Capitol with the power of our patriotism. Why is the mace hurt so bad? Because everyone knows that mace can't get through a patriotic shield. You know what I mean? Like your patriotism can stop bullets.
Fine protective gloss.
You watch some of the videos in the live streams, and they're shouting at DC and Capitol Police, your boss sent us here. Your boss told us to do this. Stand down. We're here to help you. Like, completely delusional to the fact that they were trespassing on federal property, breaking and entering, and loitering. Also, I would love it if everyone there got charged with a loitering charge. That would be so fucking great. It's like, a $250 fine, but like, oh my god, that would be. I
would be such
more stuff onto it.
I'd be such a bad lawyer, because apparently judges don't like it when lawyers do petty ass shit like that. But I'd be the pettiest lawyer. I'd be like petty and petty at law, like. We'll fucking slap whoever we're going against with the most ridiculous of. It doesn't matter if the charge carries no weight.
The DA's office, that would be the prosecutors, not the defense attorneys. You wouldn't have a law firm. You're part of the state.
Or the state, yeah. They'd be like, listen, Peter, stop like going through the law books and trying to attach an 1803 statute to this. It carries no weight. And like, I'm like, fuck them. I don't care. You know what I mean? I want them to be publicly shamed.
In Florida, it's against the law to sing in a mall if you're wearing a swimsuit. Right, that particular combination is illegal. Speaking of like archaic laws, I always think of that.
I'd be like, we finally get to use this one, guys. We got bam.
So in California and its native waters, it is of course illegal to whale. But the law was not specific. Right. So a court ruling made it illegal in the state of California. You are not allowed to harpoon whales from a car at all.
Well,
because the guy made the argument that, well, the harpoon was attached to my truck and I was off the state highway. I was on private property and I harpooned the whale from the beach. I was not on the water. I was on the beach. And so the judge said, no.
So you have to be very specific about that.
See, if I was rich, I would just go around breaking all it, like, in Alabama, you're not allowed to walk a tortoise down Main Street. And I'd be like, I'm buying a tortoise. I'm walking him down Main Street. Like, arrest me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure most
weekend walking your tortoise.
Right. So in the news today, let's bring this down and make it super sad. Kyle Rittenhouse's trial is gone to fucking crazy town.
Kyle Rittenhouse?
Yeah, for anybody that doesn't remember him, he was the 17-year-old kid whose mother bought him an AR-15, drove him to Wisconsin, and he went to go protect stores from looters and then shot 3 people, killing 2 of them.
I didn't remember that story.
He was underage, so he couldn't legally purchase the gun. B, his mother had to drive him to the murder. And then like C, he basically was in contempt of court, I think a couple times after being arrested because he was told not to associate with Proud Boys and all this other stuff. And then he was seen a whole bunch of times, them clapping him on the back.
Oh, he's a white kid, so he's gonna get off.
Maybe,
I mean,
because
pretty much, yeah. They decided in pretrial that his victims cannot be called victims
because the judge is crazy. The judge is insane.
Yeah.
Is this one of those Trump appointees? Because Trump and McConnell did appoint like 180.
This guy's been on the Wisconsin. He's been a Wisconsin judge for like fucking forever. He's just nuts.
Well, why can't they be considered victims though?
They can refer to his victims, because they're murder victims, his victims as what do they say? It's looters and arsonists, even though there's no evidence that they were either.
Because the judge is clearly biased. Like the judge has been reaming out the prosecution like constantly for stuff.
So wait, where did he go to shoot these people?
Wisconsin. Kenosha, Washington. Kenosha.
So it was it at a I was picturing him just walking into a Walmart and shooting people up for some reason.
No. See, he and some other people decided to go to a Black Lives Matter rally to quote unquote be security. Like he wanted to go, like all these businesses had boarded up and they were closed. Yeah, they
to be security though,
They decided to go and be vigilantes, and there's literally video, which the judge is not allowing to be shown in court, of him like maybe a day or two before, watching people allegedly stealing from a Walgreens from across the street, and him on video saying, "I wish I had my AR. I would just start popping off shots." Like vigilante justice in the streets. If you shoplift more than $10, you apparently deserve to die, according to Kyle Rittenhouse. But this is more along the lines of the people who were like, well, I'll just drive my car through it, through the demonstration. How dare they who are fighting for civil rights slightly inconvenience me? These are the same people who were shouting at little Black children who were being integrated into white schools. These are the exact same fucking people.
Like honestly, like fucking these are the same assholes that are like, oh, property, really, Bank of America had a brick thrown through a window. You think Bank of America is hurting? Bank of America needs you to come out with an AR-15 and shoot people. That's what the nation needs.
Yeah, exactly. Or like during the Women's March, some fuckheads broke a window on a McDonald's and tore up a couple of public trash cans on a Washington, D.C. street side. They were immediately arrested and charged with vandalism. And people are like, the Women's March was Antifa run amok and they were destroying Washington, D.C. And I'm like, guys, it was like 4 trash cans, one of which they threw through a plate glass window of a McDonald's franchise, which, I mean, a McDonald's franchise in one of the densest parts of Washington, D.C. How will they ever pay for those damages? It's McDonald's franchises don't have insurance.
This is an old play though. Like I saw a newspaper article from the MLK marches.
This goes back to why we shouldn't emancipate the slaves. Like this is seriously old school racist bullshit.
Right. This is like, man, and this is that whole like, oh, if only somebody would go out there and keep like these people in line. Like that's 100% what it is. And I was talking about this Kyle Rittenhouse chuckle fuck. Like, part of me feels bad because this 17-year-old clearly has been like set up, brought up that way, handed a weapon, driven to the scene, right? Paraded around like a hero for shooting these people.
Indoctrinated by his parents and their friends and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, this is a case where this kid murdered 2 people and seriously maimed a third. And like, I'm still sitting here going, yeah, he needs punishment, but like rehabilitation. Rehabilitation is a thing. I am 100% for Kyle Rittenhouse should get rehabilitation because he's so young. He does have his whole life ahead of him. But no, his defense attorneys have him crying crocodile tears, which if you watch his, like, I love it. Steven Crowder played this video where Kyle Rittenhouse is on the stand going, and then I was just, and he keeps glancing over at the jury, like breaking the crying to glance at the jury, and then goes right back into, and fucking Steven Crowder pauses the video and goes, everyone will remember where they were when they saw this video. And I'm sitting there going, of a kid fake ugly crying and glancing at the jury to see if they're buying it?
My whole argument with that was like, I feel like it's really hard to judge somebody's trauma response, whether you thought you wanted to or not. Shooting like 3 people is a pretty fucking big deal. Maybe he was faking it.
And now they're like, oh, the one guy had a gun. I'm like, yeah, dude, probably a lot of people at that rally had their guns on them. That's number one.
Yeah, because crazy white people might be out and about.
Number two, the guy who pulled a gun had a concealed carry permit and was legally a firearm owner, unlike Kyle Rittenhouse, who transported a weapon across state lines, which is a felony. Okay, was not the owner of said weapon. All right, but then number three, the guy who pulled the gun because Kyle Rittenhouse had just murdered someone.
Right.
He was, I'm sorry.
That guy had a gun. It's America. Everyone has guns.
The first person he killed hit him with a skateboard. That isn't.
I'm glad that someone fought back at least.
Yeah,
well, here's the thing is that if you have a firearm and the other person does not have a firearm, it is on you to de-escalate, to back away. If
the problem is
that he's a 17-year-old and he didn't understand that.
It depends on
17-year-olds should not have fucking assault rifles.
It depends on the state, because some states have such fucked up laws, especially with the stand your ground stuff, that you actually now no longer have to prove an attempt to escape or de-escalate. You only have to say, I feared for my life and safety. That's why I shot the clerk at the 7-11. You know what I mean?
It was Kenosha, Wisconsin, by the way. Sorry, I just looked it up.
So I don't know if Wisconsin has those laws, but I know a lot of other states have laws very similar to that. So like, you no longer have a duty to, like a duty to retreat or de-escalate. And I think that's what they're focusing on, the defense. They're just saying he was in fear for his life. The fact that he came with an AR-15 illegally across state lines, none of that matters. He was just in fear for his life in the moment, not the fact that he came to kill people.
Yeah.
And that's probably why he's going to get off. And the judge is so fucking crazy.
This should be first degree murder. He went out there. It was premeditated. He saw people. He's like, man, I wish I could shoot people like this. Hey, I know where might be people like this.
I don't understand why his mother.
It was like a day or two before. And this judge who has apparently adopted Kyle Rittenhouse. And he's all but done that. Like, he's all but said, "This is my son. How dare you? How dare you?" Like, all but done that. And it's just, it's I don't know. The prosecution has.
What if the jury throws the book at him? Do you think the judge would be like, nah? And even throws out the jury.
Even if the jury does, I'm worried that the judge in this case is so biased that he's going to vacate whatever sentence the jury hands down. If the jury hands down a negative.
Well, in that case, I believe the prosecutors have a recourse, like they can appeal or like call for a new trial or something like that if that happens.
I know that in LA, and I didn't know it. This is how I know it.
I'm pretty sure what we're going to end up here with is a hung jury.
Well, I didn't realize this until
have to go back and have a whole new trial.
I was watching. I hope they get a new trial, the new judge.
With a new judge, yeah.
I was watching a documentary.
New judge.
I was watching a documentary on the LA riots, and part of the reason they happened because there was an altercation between 2 teenage black girls and an Asian woman in like a bodega, like a gas station store or whatever. They had an argument. The girl was trying to leave, and the Asian storekeep pulled out a gun and shot the girl in the back of the head, killing her. Went to trial. They're like, oh, yep. They're like, this lady's doing 25 to life. A judge later vacated that lady's sentence to probation, saying, oh, she's an older woman, and I don't think she's really a danger to anybody. Apparently didn't matter that she shot a 15-year-old child in the back of the head. So I didn't realize judges could do that. So that's what I feel like either Rittenhouse gets off.
Judges have a lot of power, and part of the reason behind that is sort of baked into the Constitution being more or less vague on what the court system should be. And what we did in America whenever we founded the country was, even with the Articles of Confederation, was we sort of left it alone. The founders left the court system almost purposefully vague so that it could build and develop itself based on what I don't know if it was called that at the time, but now we call it common law. And the only state in the United States that doesn't operate under common law is actually my home state of Louisiana, which actually operates under a modernized version of Napoleonic Code.
Right. God bless the French.
Bien vu à la Louisiane. Yeah, the Napoleonic Code is weird. For instance, Louisiana, I believe it's still in the books, but if you are a pedestrian and you get hit by a car, it is very likely legally your fault.
Nice.
Which is not anywhere else in the country.
Because Napoleon hated cars.
No. It was a whole thing to do with like horses and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
To jump trials real quick. And I hate. Someone brought up a good point. I hate that we're calling it the Ahmaud Arbery trial.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
Because he's the victim. So why is it like he's not on trial? Yeah. So the trial of the 3 chuckle fuck assholes that killed Ahmaud Arbery is not going well for them. More and more stuff keeps coming out. I wish I had
their names are
Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Kevin Go. I'm sorry, William Roddy Bryan. I love that they always put his nickname
William
in there.
Roddy Bryan. Yeah. William Roddy Bryant and his son. It's Gregory McMichael, Travis McMichael, and William Roddy Bryant Jr. accused of chasing Arbery, a 25-year-old black man, in a vehicle and killing him in a neighborhood in February 23rd of 2020. Now, here's the thing: is that so the McMichaels, Travis and Gregory McMichael, they were the ones chasing Arbery. For the people who don't know, were the ones chasing Arbery in their truck. Arbery was jogging in this neighborhood, something that he did frequently. And another thing that he apparently frequently did was he stopped into a little construction site, which someone was building a house or an addition or something, and he would just look through it. Like, I got to be honest with you, I've done this.
Yeah, it's just that's just straight up.
Site. It's really interesting.
I feel like that's either a man thing or a Southern thing. I wander through.
If there's like a tractor on the side of the road and I'm on my bike, I might stop and check it out. Like,
you're just like
anything. And here's the thing: is that so the McMichaels, Gregory McMichael is a former police officer.
Yeah.
Anyway, this case, so they basically claimed. Oh, and William Roddy Bryant Jr. He jumped in his truck whenever he heard the McMichaels were going to go chase this guy down, and
filmed it.
Well, he decided to film, and he's filming from his truck, and the McMichaels confront Arbery in plain view of the video, and oh God, sorry. I just ate a lot of yogurt. They got into a scuffle as they were basically trying to sit on him until the police could get there because they wanted him arrested. Right. And when he fought back, they shot it
twice with a shotgun.
They shot him twice with a shotgun. And Brian, the guy filming, kept the video to himself. Now, the local DA's office, who has a connection to the McMichael family, basically said, yeah, we're not going to prosecute any of this. And like Arbery's family's like, what the fuck do you mean you're not not going to prosecute any of this? But there was literally no evidence. It was he said, and one of the people is dead. So all of a sudden, about, I want to say 2 or 3 months after this altercation occurred, William Roddy Bryant Jr. brought forward the film and said, this is what actually happened that day.
Because he thought it would help their case.
Yeah, well, he it was weighing on him that this had happened and that he had taken the footage and that he had told anybody or that he had been told to not show anybody. And so he went ahead and released the footage. I want to say to the family's defense attorney, like maybe the defense attorney just talked him into it, but anyway, they entered that. And now the DA has been, the DA has resigned. This DA, I forget her name.
Resigned from the case or as a DA?
As a DA.
As a DA,
because the cover up was so fucking blatant and like she left. Yeah,
and also I want to say a judge stepped down because of connections. I mean, that's just one of 2 high profile cases that are going on in my local area. Like the other one being the Kavanaugh case with the Kavanaugh. Yeah. So,
well, I wanted to add one.
Kavanaugh?
No, like I wanted to add one more thing
gotcha.
about the
I thought you meant like Brett Kavanaugh.
No,
it's like really he's in trouble locally.
I wanted to add one more thing about the Arbery case real quick that keeps getting bad. Roddy Bryan, his attorney, apparently made this real fucked up comment that I can only imagine was done in the most like Georgia Southerny accent, where he was basically like, there's only so many pastors that the family can have. Now, I don't want Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson coming down here trying to intimidate my jury. And everyone's like, are you fucking kidding me? And then like immediately the next day, he's like, I'm sorry for my remarks about black pastors in general. I do apologize. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like this.
Murdaugh. That's what I was thinking of. Murdaugh. The Murdaugh, not Kavanaugh. Murdaugh.
This, gotcha.
Yeah. So this fucking whole thing about we don't want the family to have too many high profile black pastors because it might intimidate the jury. Like, geez, you couldn't be more racist if you went back and got a jury using a time machine, just got a jury from Georgia in like 1801. Like, this is fucking insane. And the thing is, like, you know, it's going really badly, but who knows? These guys could be they could walk. You know,
I mean, to me, it sounded like they were going to walk until they entered in the video. Themselves,
because the DA was totally
like it sounded like it was done, it was over, and then they was like, yeah, but maybe you could prosecute us
if the DA decline. I don't know why. If the DA declines to charge you, it's really, really hard to do anything about that unless you find that the DA acted with gross misconduct, as the DA did.
This case has ramifications beyond just that for the Bryants. For Roddy Bryant and George and Travis McMichael, it's actually prompted the state of Georgia to change its citizens arrest law.
Right.
Like, originally what they did was just outside, like the murder was definitely outside, but like actively hunting a person down, like old school lynching style, you know, over a series of what would have amounted to petty burglary. It's not larceny, it's burglary. Not robbery, it's burglary. Robbery is with a weapon and someone is there. Like, if I were to come to your house and you were home and I held a gun to you and said, give me all your valuables, and you gave me your PS5. Like, that's robbery. Well, anyway, is that the citizens arrest law has been amended. It was actually like bipartisan, because everything in Georgia has to be bipartisan. It's a very purple state, but it was it's sort of like, you know, how South Carolina is still desperately, lawmakers in South Carolina are still desperately trying to get a hate crimes law on the books. They don't have one. They're one of two states that doesn't.
Right.
And they're desperately trying to get one on.
Fun thing about that Georgia law, apparently it was passed in, I'd have to look it up, 18 something or other. It was created to go in tandem with the Fugitive Slave Act, basically allowing any white person to hold any black person
so they're able to pull out. It's another one of those obscure laws like you were talking about earlier, like don't walk a turtle on the sidewalk on a Tuesday.
Yeah, but
this lets you murder people.
Right, but this was called a citizens arrest law, basically meaning that any white person in Georgia could hold any black person until it was determined whether they were an escaped slave or not. And then they just called it a citizens arrest law, and then it's just been on the books since then. Not anymore.
BRQ.
So every American school child who goes through at least a half decent public school system has heard of the court case. Since we're talking about old court cases and old decisions, you've probably all heard of the court case of Plessy versus Ferguson.
Yep.
Right. So Plessy, Homer Plessy, he was an 18th century case. Homer Plessy, and this is some good news, actually.
Yeah, this is good news based on after all the horrible news.
Yeah, in my home state of Louisiana is where Plessy versus Ferguson occurred. Whenever he was Creole, but he was still colored. He was not allowed in the. Oh, Wilder, where'd you go?
Oh, he said BRBQTT something, and then he ran away. So I have no idea what that meant.
Okay. But. Anyway, so Plessy versus Ferguson happened whenever Homer Plessy refused to remove himself from the whites-only car on a train that was leaving New Orleans. And this went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court decided that separate but equal was legal so long as it was actually equal. And this was pretty much a stain on the U.S. law code for quite a while, because as we could see even at the time, was that separate was never equal.
Right, because
ever.
it was based in
Right.
racism and the idea that it shouldn't be, which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's BRBRQ. Be right back, right quick.
Which I guess, which is the basis, which is the basis.
That was a fast poop.
Right.
Well, anyway, the good news here is that, I think Plessy versus Ferguson got overturned by, I forget what it was overturned by, but it was sort of like Roe v. Wade,
right,
but for segregation. And it got overturned, I want to say sometime in the 60s, maybe the 70s. And that's whenever a lot of acceleration started on desegregation and whatnot, which we are still a totally segregated society. But the state of Louisiana
and everything else, yeah, like there's a lot that still goes into we're now economically segregated, just to throw that in there.
Oh no, our schools are still totally segregated. Our schools are very much segregated. Our housing is very much segregated. It's just
the projects and all that.
It's just not a law that real estate agents don't let black families buy in this neighborhood. The real estate agents don't sell to black families.
Segregation's no longer overt. It's now just kind of implied.
That's what I meant about we're economically segregated with redlining and all of that stuff.
Anyway. The case was later overturned, and just this week, the state of Louisiana has issued a pardon to Homer Plessy. Now, here's the thing: is that both the families of Plessy and Ferguson have since gone on. I forget what it's called. The CNN article is complete garbage. I forget what it's called, but they actually did. Let's see here. Yeah, on Friday, the Louisiana Board of Pardons on CNN. I swear to fucking God. On Friday, this is the sentence that they wrote. On Friday, comma, the Louisiana Board of Pardons, comma, on Friday, voted unanimously in favor of a pardon for Plessy, who died in his 60s in 1925. Governor John Bell Edwards would make the pardon official on Friday. The Board of Pardons on Friday. Fuck CNN.
Anyway, and then there's like a sidebar about how all this connects to the missing Malaysian airliner.
Yeah.
Ferguson hid it in his backyard.
Yeah, in 1892, Plessy, a shoemaker by profession, purchased a first-class ticket on a Louisiana train and sat in the whites-only section. When a conductor ordered him to move to a rail car reserved for blacks, he refused, was arrested, and convicted at a trial of violating the Separate Car Act of 1890.
Separate Car Act.
Plessy, who was 1/8 black. So this is they're still going by the one drop rule here, 1/8 black. That means he has a great grandparent who was black. This is in Louisiana. These people refer to themselves as Creole, and Creole is usually a mixture of French, European, Spanish European, Native American, Native Caribbean, Native Caribbean, and Black African, and so it's just sort of, you're in the mix somewhere. I know a lot of there's very much a Creole pride movement. It's kind of like Gullah Geechee here on the East Coast.
Well, the United States, I got to say, like, we really did the whole Home Depot paint section color swatch of racism. Like we had laws and restrictions for everything you could possibly be on that color swatch. It's
right. Instead of the okay, not okay being divided in the middle, it used to be up a couple notches.
Yeah, it was horrifying how, like, they're just like, oh, if you're this shade, you're banned from doing this. If you're this shade, you're banned from this and this. Like, fucking terrible.
Even white people have to be, nervous about staying out in the sun for too long. Shit, I just lost my home.
Especially if you're in fucking Louisiana.
Yeah.
Okay. It was Brown versus Board of Education that overturned Plessy versus Ferguson.
Right. Yeah. I should have. Okay. I don't know why I didn't realize that's what you're getting at. Yeah.
That was 1954. So it was a clean 70 years of racism, systematic racism being
the law of the land.
Okay.
There's a bunch of fascinating stuff from that era. There's a thing, I think it was called a Green Book or something. It was basically an interstate guide. If you were black and you were traveling from, say, East Coast to West Coast, it was a guide of where you could get gas, where you could get food, where you could stay, because everything was so racist and segregated that it was hard to travel without pre-planning.
You have to know where you can actually stay and not be murdered.
or just told
people still do this. We just do it on the internet.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and Black people still very much avoid certain places. Like, it's just because there's not a green book doesn't mean that this is not still going on.
Yeah, it's just
like,
become more subtle.
Like I said, it's not legal for the real estate agent to advertise a neighborhood as it's a whites neighborhood. They just don't sell the homes to Black people or Asian people or Latino people. Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah. Well, anyway, are you guys ready? Are you guys ready for the war on Christmas? It's war on Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, also Wesley has
under attack.
In true fashion, Wesley has a question. Wesley wants to know if there is a group that protects inmates from being mistreated while incarcerated. And I was like, I don't know, the Innocence Project?
I thought he meant, like, was there a group like in jail, like, and an idiot would probably say, oh, that's the guards. No, the guards are
no. I mean, in jail,
property from being hurt by them.
No, in jail, the guy that protects you is the guy you give that booty up to. No, I think he's asking not about prison politics, but for an actual like.
Let's not do rape jokes.
Oh yeah, I just watched the whole thing on horrible prison politics, and I'm like, again, I never want to go to prison.
You really don't. You really don't want to go to prison, especially in America. Yeah.
What do you call it? The general policy is if you're making rape jokes about men, it's okay, but if it's about women, that's taboo.
That's true.
I have noticed that it's like if you make a rape joke about men, people still it'll still be a knee slapper, but if it's a woman, it's like, ooh, that's way over the line.
And it's if a high school kid gets raped by his teacher, it's, oh yay, way to go, kid. But if the same thing happens to a girl, it's, oh my God, circle the wagons. It's
kill the man
standard that men themselves perpetuate, and that is why we need feminism.
But he's asking, is there, basically, is there a group that, and I don't know of one, that like you could get help outside the prison if you're being mistreated or denied medical care besides your lawyer?
Mostly people just throw prisoners away and forget about them. The reason why there aren't a lot of groups that help prisoners, besides the Freedoms Project, like Peter said, is because there's no money in it. So anyone that does this is totally altruistic, and you're going to be spending a lot of money to help people that may have done really awful things. And it's really hard to see, whenever you're a charity, you have to convince people to give you money to actually be, to actually make sure your charity doesn't die. And it's really hard to convince a lot of people to be sympathetic about people behind bars. They are painted as criminals, like by the book, by definition, they're criminals.
I have found a list.
You don't get people to sympathize with them.
It's not just that, it's also the Bureau of Prisons has a ridiculous amount of power over its prisoners. Go ahead.
Well, to answer Wesley's initial question, are there people who advocate for prisoners? The answer is yes. You can go to centerforprisonreform.org. I'll give Wilda the thing so we can put the link in the thing, but there's a whole bunch of them, and some of them are very specific, like Families Against Mandatory Minimums. Mandatory minimums gotta go. The whole war on crime bullshit. Like, congratulations to crime for winning the war on crime. Citizens United for Rehabilitation of Errants, Alabama's Women's Resource Network, A New Way of Life Reentry Project, Angel Tree, Nation Inside, Pan American Center for Prison Writing Program, Children of Inmates, Family and Corrections Network, National HIRE Network, which is apparently a group that is like, trying to get, people who have gotten out of prison work, because, if you went to prison for, robbery, and then whenever you get out, you're a felon, we won't hire you. Like, well, what are you going to have to do? Because it's capitalism. What are you going to have to do to, the only kind of theft that is 100% legal in the United States is wage theft. Right. That's the only kind of theft that is legal, is wage theft. And even in the certain instances where it is not, say, paying someone below the minimum wage, the person who does it is getting a slap on the wrist. Because who are you hurting? Oh, the working class. Oh, we really don't give a shit about that.
Right. If I take money out of if I go in and I take money out of the till, they'll come put me in prison. But if you steal money out of my paycheck, they're not going to come put.
I mean, it depends on how full the till was, but yeah, it's a lot more than if your manager takes money out of the till.
Right.
Or
your manager,
the owner of the business takes money out of the till.
If your manager, your business owner takes my tips, they're not going to come put him in bracelets and take him to county jail.
Well, he might get an anklet to stay at home for a little bit, but that's on the outside. Yeah.
But either way, all right. So the war on Christmas, because we'll send Wesley those links after the thing.
Well, it's just one link, centerforprisonreform.org, and I'll give it to Wilda so you can put it in the doodly doo down there. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe and ring the bell and comment. I'm so tired of me being the only person writing first, haha, hi Wilda, in the comments on our YouTube videos.
Give us some comments. Tell us what you think.
Yeah. I really want trolls. That's all I want. I just want to be trolled.
We've had trolls before. They're wonderful things.
We had a troll.
We had a troll.
We had a troll, and we out trolled our own troll, so he left us.
We kept responding to him until he got tired of us.
Yeah,
you have to farm them. You really do. You have to cultivate a good base of trolls, and they will forever ratio your shit into to the moon.
Like, not for much longer. They're about to get rid of downvotes on YouTube.
That doesn't matter so long as they're commenting.
Yeah, as long as they're just like, you guys suck. Trump 2024. That's all we need.
But only the owner of the video will be able to see the downvotes, which I don't know if Social Blade is going to be able to look at that. But because I don't know what kind of magic Social Blade has. I just don't know. Like, is it using the Wayback Machine? I have no idea.
Wesley said he'll troll us, but I can't imagine Wesley. He's too nice. I can't imagine him being, oh, you guys are so pretty. And you suck. Like, you know what I mean?
Wesley, make good comments. You have to like respond and say nice things.
He's just too nice. I think he get trolling all backwards. He'd be like, we're not sure, so you're wonderful. Boo.
I only laughed a little bit at every single joke.
So what's happening with the war on Christmas this year? I can't believe people still believe in this, and I'm tired of it being a conversation around the holidays with my family.
That's so. How many people take it serious, or is it?
In this picture, I have the Soviet soldiers saying, "I'll say Merry Christmas when I'm dead."
This is, this is the kind of stuff that works on my grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
Like she would see it and go, yep,
Yeah, and
the communists are trying to take our Santas from us.
And now they're putting critical race theory in the water. Like,
what are you getting for Christmas? Critical race theory.
It makes a good stocking stuffer,
Yeah. Fucking
just giant printouts of academic journals from Harvard.
Right. Is that the new?
That actually would be a really good Christmas present for like conservative family members, like the actual theory. Like just print out the pages, like get on what is it called? Amazing. The Harvard Law Review.
Yeah. Is that the new Cole though? If you've been bad, you get something from the Harvard Law Review telling you what critical race theory actually is.
Well, if you agree with Tucker Carlson, then you have been very, very bad this year.
I think someone brought it up, but this is as a teacher, this is what I have to say about critical race theory. And so someone said it before me, but it was so beautiful and succinct. Someone goes, "You think I'm fucking teaching critical race theory? I'm trying to get these kids to the minimum standard of who won the Civil War." You know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to be like,
theory, Peter. That is critical race theory.
I'm working on basic geography. Florida's a peninsula. And you're just like, you're teaching these kids advanced systems? No.
The Civil War, that's won by General Lee.
Like, just, you're really, these people, anybody that thinks that we're getting into college level, in the average classroom, that we're getting into college level, like systemic stuff, you're out of your fucking mind. I just want to get through the content. Like,
no, I was told whenever I moved to Georgia, they were like, okay, we'll just be nice to the Georgians. And I was like, what do you mean be nice? And they were like, don't ever tell them this joke. Look out behind you. It's William Tecumseh Sherman.
They're still mad about that. They to this day.
I love it. Remember whenever that homeless person set fire to the plastic under I-75/85 and it burned down part of the interstate and it just collapsed.
Yeah.
I tweeted out an image of it. I tweeted out an image of it, and I memed it. It was a Sherman's March 2 rush hour.
Nice.
Oh my God, I love Sherman.
But it was the biggest fire in Atlanta's history since General Sherman. So
I'm not trying to cast.
Was a sequel.
I'm not trying to cast aspersions on my home state, but I've been to Atlanta, and I'm just saying, like, maybe burning the city down and starting again wouldn't be the worst idea.
Well, I know, right? Whole city. We can keep parts of it. I like the Coca-Cola Museum.
Yeah. Just It's
you get to try Coke products from all around the world, and then you get a free Coke in a glass bottle at the end of it.
Cities are kind of like forests, you just do like small controlled fires so that everything grows back nicer.
Yeah, but the problem with that is they would use that for gentrification. Jinx.
Yeah.
See,
it's because of the stream. I didn't hear us say it at the same time, but yeah, that's called gentrification.
See,
congratulations, Paul. Did you just reinvented gentrification?
Right. It's like whenever you get around to eugenics and then go, oh, never mind. Like, oh yeah, we'll just burn down certain parts of the city to make the parts better. Yeah, that's not.
We did that in Atlanta by pile driving interstates through it. That was the purpose of the interstates, was to basically, not the entire purpose, but later it became the purpose, was to just pile drive straight through ethnic neighborhoods.
They did a lot of that in New York too, and I've lived here for about 8 years, and I did not know. Have you ever seen
the plans for the Manhattan Expressway?
Yeah.
Why cut straight through the ethnic neighborhoods?
Because you get a highway and you get rid of those neighborhoods.
Oh. Yeah, basically. Yeah. It's also a phenomenon we now know.
I figured it was like dividing like these people from those, so now they can't talk to their neighbors anymore because they have to cross a busy interstate.
No,
it obliterates both sides.
They literally targeted neighborhoods for destructions, and it was like, well, it's nothing but Puerto Ricans there. Who the fuck's going to care?
Yeah.
And this is why I keep telling people, they're like, well, I want the city to have like a better bus system. I'm like, do you use the bus service? White lady in a middle class income? Well, no, because it's kind of inconvenient. I'm like, they're not going to care about it until more white middle class people start using it.
Unfortunately.
That's the entire reason that New York still has a subway, that New Jersey Transit exists, that Philadelphia has SEPTA, that New Orleans still has streetcars. It's because white people ride it. And that's the only way you get politicians, black politicians in the United States, to be able to do anything about anything.
If you want to see something mind-blowing, just look up this little guy from New York. He never actually held, I think, an elected political office, but he's more responsible for like a lot of the New York infrastructure than anybody else.
You're talking about wait, say his name.
Robert Moses.
Oh yeah, Robert Moses. Well, he didn't just work in New York, by the way. He is responsible for neighborhood demolishing interstate systems throughout the country.
So he's an interesting guy. If you ever get a chance, do a book report on him.
Jewish and surprisingly anti-Semitic.
Robert Moses seemed to be like
I think self-hating Jews is another stereotype. But...
Robert Moses, I feel like a lot of his life was just like,
we'll just add that to the list of things Robert Moses did, and what makes him evil is that he perpetuated the stereotype of the self-hating Jew.
He had like a spider sense where he's like, Robert Moses would be like, oh man, more than 8 black people own houses in the same area. Oh, we need an interstate stat. Like, he fucking demolished like historic like black and like just like
I was right, he's Jewish. Okay.
Basically anybody that wasn't white that had like a neighborhood thing that was like, hey, this is kind of cool, we got our own thing. Yeah, interstate.
Yeah. Well, basically what the plan for the Manhattan freeway was basically to build a freeway across the Brooklyn Bridge and just pile drive it through the heart of Manhattan. Like, and the other part of the plan was, well, this is going to be getting rid of a lot of housing. They were going to build giant, diagonally leaning over the highway housing projects over this interstate, basically encapsulating it in this like 40-story neo-Gothic brutalist monstrosity. It is absolutely, like, if you ever look up Unbuilt New York, it is the project. They wanted to fill in part of the Hudson to build a 3-runway international airport right on the Hudson off of Manhattan. Can you imagine? Like, Sully Sullenberger would have been completely okay. He could have landed that plane on a runway. But like, could you imagine Manhattan with an airport literally next to it? Like, that's insane.
It's already like, they really should just put a no vacancy sign up, because there's nothing else in Manhattan. Stop.
No. Yeah. I love it. There was somebody, I think it was a TikTok, it might have been a Vine, because it was a while ago, I think. And it was this girl going, oh my God, I have so many gay friends and I can't wait. I'm going to move to Atlanta. It's going to be so much fun. And then it was just like this guy with like a pride bracelet on, and he had a shirt that said Atlanta Braves, and he goes, nah, baby, we full.
Fuck off.
We're full. We're full.
So after if we take everything we've talked about today and we consider all of the subjects, what do you think now, with all of this in hindsight, what do you believe our podcast is about? Wesley, are you still there? Do you have an idea? How would you describe us? What are we about? What is our genre?
He told us he was going to troll us. And that was the last thing he said. He said, he said, thanks, Bob. I was like, who is Bob? Oh, Bobby. Yeah. Sorry. For some reason in my head, the name Bob and Bobby are completely different.
Yeah, and I guess on your screen, my name is Robert. But yeah, it's like, I don't know Wild Thrift's actual name.
That's my name.
Oh, that's
my real life name.
Oh, I mean, I knew that Peter wasn't actually Peter Griffin, but yeah, it was.
Oh, it actually, it legitimately is.
Oh, yeah. God, I didn't know that. Wow.
No, Van Pelt was the name I used on stage because every open mic I went to, then there would be a bunch of Peter Griffin jokes, and I was like, I gotta fucking change this. So Peter Griffin is my actual real Christian name.
Yeah, this is my government name, my birth name when I was born.
Whenever I'm drunk and I the person who's talking at me, I don't want them to know who I am. I tell them that my name is Spiro Agnew.
Agnew, yes. Yeah. I love it.
So tell us what if I'm drunk and somebody wants to cheers and it's like, we're just cheersing and no one's like, it's not anything. I always
can I be your wingman? Richard Nixon.
I always cheers to Spiro Agnew, a man who knew to get out while the getting out was good. Actually, he resigned because he was facing charges, not on Watergate, but just generally being a great guy in the federal government type stuff. But yeah, it was.
So what are they doing to Christmas? Tell us, Bobby.
It's terrible, and it's all full of critical race theory now, and that it's Santa has to be black, and don't you know he's a Muslim now, and it's just it's all the same stupid bullshit. I just wanted to mark the start of the holidays.
Is it yeah. Okay? I don't know my Santa lore because I also don't care, but isn't Santa Eastern European?
There's a bunch of different origin stories.
Yeah,
from different...
like or Turkish. Isn't there like a Turkish Santa?
Santa's German, isn't he?
One of them. Our modern conception of the guy with the white beard and the red suit, yes, that is German. A guy who deals out gifts and punishments around the holidays, that is a widely, like, there's shit tons of different ones, and they all loop back on each other. It's a giant Ouroboros of Santas just eating themselves.
I loved a few
Santa centipede.
But I liked a few Christmases back.
That's the name of the
Christmases
episode.
Back when Santa Pete. Oh no! I liked a few Christmases back when Krampus was all the rage, because that's a really fun character.
I still love Krampus. Krampus and I are buddies.
I love the idea of beating people with switches.
It's like one of the 5 Krampus movies that came out in 2015, I think, titled Krampus, that became one of my favorite Christmas films of all time. I try to watch it every year now, just because it's really fun. It's the one that starts with the mall opening and all the kids rush in, and the people are they get smacked down, and the people get eaten by a Jack in the Box in the attic. It's neat.
Well, yeah, there's a whole on the show American Dad, they do it's like a serialized Christmas set of Christmas specials where each year the lore gets wackier and wackier. And of course, the first year is that Stan wishes they go back in time.
I used to watch American Dad all the time.
And there's no Christmas because Walter Mondale beat Ronald Reagan, and then immediately after being inaugurated surrendered to the Soviet premier. So it was that kind of American Dad nightmare stuff. But now they do a lot of stuff with Krampus. I think Krampus and Santa hating them and their family specifically and trying to murder them is a thing every single year. Oh, because Steve killed Santa and they left his body to rot behind the mall.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But
have you seen the Ollie North song from American Dad?
Oh yeah,
I love that one so much. Ollie North. He's so good.
The whole reason Stan bought the house they live in is because he believes it to be the location of Ollie North's lost Iran-Contra gold.
Wonderful.
And he starts.
One of these days he'll find it.
Room, and I'm sitting there going, "Do you guys have a basement?" And then he immediately falls into the basement. And it's done like Schoolhouse Rock. That was so great. Ollie North still alive. And now a Fox News commentator.
Because
now he's on Fox News.
Because they're not content to just rehabilitate the image of George W. Bush. They now have to rehabilitate the image of Richard Nixon.
Why can't I just get money to be a news commentator on one of these? I mean, CNN pays Rick Santorum to come on and say shit.
You just have to lie your face off. You just have to lie your face off. That's all you have to do. Most of the people who go on Fox News or even MSNBC and all this crap, they don't actually believe the shit that they're saying. Like a lot of right-wing talk radio sphere is people who have just gotten in too deep, and they can't stop now because they've got a mortgage and they've got kids to feed, and it's like the whole Alex Jones thing.
Yeah.
He probably
I know
half the bullshit that comes out of his mouth, but he's got a mortgage and he's got alimony payments and staffers to feed, and
now he has to pay the children, the parents of Sandy Hook victims as well. So he's got a lot on his plate.
I actually know someone who actually knows Janine Pirro in real life, and this is an act. It's all an act. That's not actually who she is. She 100% knows what she's doing, and she's like, what am I supposed to do? This is because when they got into it, things weren't this fucking crazy, and then Trump made it this crazy, and they had to just ride the crazy train, and there's no getting off at this point, and they had to go harder and harder crazy to not make him seem like a monster.
Do you guys remember when we were kids that really dangerous piece of equipment called the super all metal merry-go-round that they had? And you'd get on it and you'd get it going way too fast, right?
Yes.
And you're like, we just have to hang on. And then one kid's like, I'm getting off. And you go, don't. And then he would get mangled in it. That's, I feel like, what the Trump crazy merry-go-round is. They're like, just hang on. And anybody tries to get off gets mangled.
Yeah. Speaking of getting off and getting mangled, Kellyanne Conway is trying really, really hard to rehabilitate her image and move on from 2020.
She's not going to be able to.
Dude, she's too deep in. Like, the only way you got to tunnel. You keep going, keep tunneling, keep digging the hole, because there's no getting out of this shit.
Merry-go-round faster and faster.
Yeah. There's no way someone's going to be like a softer Kellyanne Conway.
What's funny about that is I don't remember being on a super fast merry-go-round when I was a kid, but I do remember as an adult, especially when we were out there boken fighting, we'd wander over to there was a merry-go-round somewhere. It wasn't in the Metter Park.
You do not have the same inner ear fluid you had as a kid. I can tell you, like, as someone in the late 20s that got on a merry-go-round, I was like, oh my God, this is like torture.
I remember we went somewhere and everyone was liquored up and we got on one of those merry-go-rounds and went really fast on it. That's my last memory of those things.
Speaking of memories, we've renamed the segment, by the way. Instead of Ask a Wesley or Dear Wesley, we're just going to call this segment Am I a Wesley?
Yes, which is rough because it implies that Wesley is always the asshole. Don't worry, Wesley, we wouldn't call you an asshole.
I would, but not seriously. All right, so am I the Wesley for evicting? It just says for evicting him and his 13-year-old daughter.
Yes, you are. I've answered the question.
So wait, hold on. A guy, say that again.
Am I a Wesley for evicting him and his 13-year-old daughter?
Maybe.
All right. So my boyfriend, 34, who's 34 of 3 years, just moved into my 3-bedroom home. I'm a 32 female. 5 months ago. The home has been in my family for like 70 years. I have a 5-year-old son. He has a 13-year-old daughter. I made sure I moved all of the stuff out of my office and put it in the loft so she could have her own bedroom.
Okay.
I think it was about a month into him living here that his daughter wanted to move in with us full time, as she doesn't have her own bedroom at her mom's. And I was completely fine with this. All right. So far, so good. They've been dating 3 years. They both have kids. I think that's like a reasonable amount of time to move in together, especially with kids. Anyways, I started running into a lot of problems. Not even a week after she moved in full time, the daughter, she became entitled, demanding my son trade rooms with her because it has a bigger closet. Pitched a huge fit when I said no. Demanded we buy her expensive clothes or makeup because I'm a real estate agent and I, quote, have lots of money.
As the mom, you just got to understand that teenagers are going to be unreasonable and you need to clamp down on that. Maybe she hasn't been a mother to a 13-year-old girl before, but she needs to learn that this comes with the territory and you got to be very firm with her.
Well, it gets worse, and this is why I don't think this person is the Wesley. Call me crazy, but I'm not about to drop $120 on a pair of ripped up jeans or drop $200 on 3 pieces of makeup. My commentary is neither one of those things. Those are pricey, but that's kind of what high-end stuff goes for these days, especially makeup. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you may not want to get it for a 13-year-old, but don't be like, that's ridiculous because the pants are ripped. Like, it's the fucking style. Her dad works, but his income is significantly less than mine. So she really just expected me to be the one who spoils her rotten, or pushing her plate of food away, saying, I'm not eating that, but you can cook me something else. That right there is one of those things that would piss me off, because I would be like, you can eat what I cook, or you can cook your own food, your choice. You know what I mean?
Because I would find if I was your kid, I'd find that fair, because it'd be like, cool. It's like, look, no offense, but I don't eat this. I don't mind cooking my own stuff. I'm good. Yeah. I'll just go microwave some McNuggets or something.
Listen, if I was the step parent or just other adult in the scenario here, I would be like, okay, well, cool. You can either eat that or go hungry, and tomorrow you and I are going to cook together. Those are your options.
Right.
Those are your options.
Yeah, because
go hungry.
I would legit just go hungry, because I used to do that like back there in elementary and high school. Like, I didn't like the school lunches most of the time, so I just didn't eat them. It wasn't a big deal to me if I didn't.
But the problem,
if I missed a meal,
the problem is not the child, and I'm about to get to who I think the actual problem is. So I can deal with her childish tantrums and slamming doors, but she's now started to put holes in the walls. And my boyfriend makes excuses, saying he used to do the same thing, and she'll grow out of it. She torments my son. She said,
Kyle. She's dating Kyle, and Kyle's daughter is just following in footsteps.
Yep. If he says anything, my son, the 5-year-old, if he says anything to her, she literally always responds with, "Oh, you're talking to me? Swap rooms with me and I'll think about responding." Her dad literally never attempts to correct her behavior, and I'm told I'm being too harsh if I do. The tip of the mountain here for me was 2 weeks ago. There was a foul smell coming from her room, so I asked her to clean it. Well, we're about to find out, because you couldn't see the floor. She said, no, it's my room, so I don't see why you have any say in how I treat my personal space. And then her father agreed with her. This was after I saw at least 6 used menstrual pads thrown throughout her room, as well as half-eaten food and moldy drink cups. She starts crying and saying I'm treating her like she's Cinderella and I'm acting like an evil stepmom. I told my boyfriend either he handles it or they're both gone. He didn't believe me, because he told me I needed to lighten the fuck up, because his daughter is having, quote, a rough time transitioning and being away from her mom. I gave it a week.
She can go back to her mom.
Yeah, I gave it a week.
Okay. So this is where we need to go to family counseling. This is where we need to go to family counseling. This is where we need to stop accelerating the vitriol that is going through the house. This is where we need to sit down with a neutral third party who is a licensed therapist and say, I'm at my wit's end here. She and I are driving each other crazy. I want to make this relationship work. We need to work this out. What am I doing wrong? How can I make her see that this is not a healthy way to express your anger? And what ways can we get her to express her emotions healthy? Evicting them is not the answer, especially if you're looking to continue the relationship with the father.
That's true. Like, if they're breaking up, if she evicted them,
understandable. You go back and live with your mom now. You're no longer my responsibility. But if you're still dating him, like,
that's an angle I didn't think of. I considered they were breaking up. If they're still dating, then
it's something to wait out the daughter living at home. Like, because you said the daughter was 15, 16?
13.
Oh, fuck, dude. Yeah. Like, no, family counseling. No, yeah, you were the asshole for kicking him out if you didn't try counseling. If you tried counseling, put it up there as an offer. Say, look, I'm a real estate agent. I make a lot of money. Let's go to counseling.
Right. The problem is here is not, in my opinion, the 13-year-old. And I can almost tell you, I'm going to make a strong guess as to what happened here. It's not the kid's fault. It's the dad's fault. The reason the kid probably wants to live with dad and new mom full time is because dad doesn't give a shit what I do. Mom makes me follow rules and toe the line. fuck mom. I'm going to move in with new mom and dad and do whatever the hell I want because she's new mom. She doesn't get to tell me what to do. So I'm going to be an asshole because I'm looking for boundaries.
Well, yeah, and a lot of the times the kids are just looking for like exactly what you just said. Is they're looking for the boundaries, and whenever dad is not making any, and not even stepmom, dad's girlfriend, who we are, I'm assuming, paying rent to. I mean, I'm just assuming if you're saying I evicted them, God, I hope you're making them pay rent, because if, there's all kinds of shit. Like, I don't even know where does it say where this is? Because some places have squatters' rights. She may not be able to evict them.
It doesn't.
Squatters' rights. Oh, that's interesting.
It doesn't say where it is, and it doesn't say if they're paying rent. It just basically the end of it says, I got an eviction notice drawn up, gave them 30 days to vacate. Told him he's lucky I'm not suing for damages. He says I'm an asshole for throwing away a 3-year relationship because I can't handle not having my own way.
I definitely think she is the asshole for not at least attempting therapy. And I don't understand how, with more people, this is not a place that you would go to, especially if you're looking to make the relationship work. Now that we know that she's ending the relationship, like, yeah, that's fine. Go do whatever you want. But there was definitely other avenues besides getting frustrated and just saying, fuck off.
The bigger problem,
you didn't take any of those avenues. That's why I think you're the asshole in this scenario.
The bigger problem I have, and this seems to happen with a lot of people, and I don't know because I don't have kids right now, but I know in the relationship that I'm in, we've had very long discussions on like childcare and child rearing and like not undermining each other in front of the child. And then if we disagree, talking it out later, you know what I mean? So that we have each other's backs. You can't parent, even if you're dating, and especially if it's one of those situations where like, I got a kid, he's got a kid, let's all be a Brady Bunch family. You really got to go in it with a plan. And I think that she's an asshole for not talking to this guy about like, if I say something, are you going to back me up? You know what I mean? Like,
I know what Wesley's solution would be though.
What would Wesley's solution be?
Okay, well, see, what you got to do is she doesn't understand what it's like to let someone in under your roof and have to take care of them. So you got to move into your daughter's room. Just go and live in there with her. And whenever she's all like, oh, I don't want to clean up, we'll be like, well, it's my room too. I want to clean up some. And if she's like, oh, you can't clean up my mess, well, you just start adding your tampons to her pile too. So let her see how gross it is.
Yeah, it's just like that thing where they're like, the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. The only thing that stops a bad guy with used menstrual pads is a good guy with used menstrual pads, to apply Republican logic to it. But yeah, if you're going to do a non-traditional family thing like that, maybe go move in together, but also start counseling together just to make sure that like it doesn't end up like this. Cause it's clearly that girl's looking for something and her piece of shit dad is not being a parent, in my opinion. So I think that was everything we had to cover. Is there anything else we wanted to cover, or is used menstrual pads going to be the basic
we're about, I think, 13 minutes over, so I really wish that there were part twos to some of these, right? Like I wish that there was another story to this so that we can see what happened after
sometimes people respond in the comments to some of them, so I'll try to find us the next Am I the Wesley. I'll try to find one where someone actually like updated, because sometimes they're throwaway accounts because they're just like, I don't want any of my friends or family to know that I posted this.
Right.
I am the asshole.
But I don't think this woman's the asshole for if she's severing the relationship, like, because it sounds like, even with therapy, I don't know if there's any like piece of shit therapy where they're like, we're going to go to therapy so you stop being a piece of shit and parent your kids.
That's going to be, well, man, I'm trying to think here. I guess she wouldn't. I was about to say, I feel almost bad for the daughter, because the daughter might think that she is responsible for destroying her father's relationship, which she is in this case. Yeah. But at the same time, at 13, if she's that selfish, I doubt that she's giving it that much introspection. Well, she's probably glad to just be done with this.
Well, it's only going to make the feelings of abandonment worse. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to do positives for her.
Yeah, certainly not.
It's going to be like, I just remember the time me and Dad got evicted and his new girlfriend left us because of me, and I feel like a piece of crap.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I guess then that brings us to the end of the episode. So Peter, hit them with the socials.
You can send us questions on what is our email and Twitter again?
We are at Those Muckrakers on Twitter, or you can email us at thosemuckrakers@gmail.com. You can send us your own Dear Wesley stories and find out if you are the Wesley. Besides that, we have 2 Dust Belt books out. The first one, Give Me Back My Life, is about a guy who comes home one day to discover an exact copy of him living in his living room. And he, working his job, living with his wife, is raising his kid.
You know,
and how does he prove that if he is the real one or not? Find out.
You know what my first reaction would be? Like, oh fuck, I don't have to work anymore, and I'd go see if my ATM card still worked.
Basically, does his ATM card still work? Does he try that? Try it, or read it, and find out. The second one, Super Lad, is about a little kid that one day gets superpowers like he always dreamed of doing. How does this work out for him? Not very well. The third one will be out soon. And besides that, we have several others that are in the wings, just waiting to be published. They just got to go through the copy editor. But there's another new series that should be coming out soon-ish.
I hope I'm pointing at Peter.
Like you're pointing at the Soviet guy.
Oh,
yeah. On my screen,
that's our copy editor. He doesn't take any fucking BS. No.
I'll copy edit when I'm dead.
Besides that, we have another series that we'd like to do. Because my free time just got mostly like got evicted like a 13-year-old. Because my free time just got evicted like a 13-year-old, it may be difficult to finish this, but I'll be working on it. Just a series of new creepypastas. That way we can churn out stories, do like some quick radio dramas, put them up on YouTube, see how well it goes with what do you call it? Public domain music and spooky graphics. Should be fun. I
don't have anything to pitch, but I've had 2 different people tell me this week, they're like, oh man, you should get into voice acting. And I'm like, do you know anybody? So
exactly.
I'm just saying, if you know anybody,
Voice 123, you can find voice acting jobs there.
Don't give me a website. I hate the you can go on to Google. No, give me a guy's name that's like looking to hire people, not a website where I have to basically like, don't give me the voice acting version of like LinkedIn. You know what I mean?
That's sort of what Voice 123 is.
Yeah.
But like being a voice actor, I have looked a lot into that, and that is a scary industry. Like a lot of people will spend months trying to get work, and finally, like one person was tickled pink because she had finally found a job after 6 months, and it was like a one-time deal for like $180 or something, right?
Yeah. So I don't want to go through any of that. So if you know anyone,
you can't pay the bills on $180 a year. Like that's not enough.
So if you know anyone, give them my name and number and my email, please. I would love to do some voice acting.
Yeah, if you know anyone that's looking for a writer, I can write anything really, and I'm extremely fast. Like I can churn out, what is it, 40, 50, 60, 70 pages. I'm trying to remember what my my record is. I think about 72,000 words in one day is my record.
So you would have been great in the 1950s as a pulp fiction writer.
Mm-hmm. But
I would have been great. I would have been great in the world of radio, especially because I have a face made for it.
It was 72 pages in one day, which would have been around 36,000 words. 36,000 words is about my record in one day. But anyway, I digress. Point being is that we have writers, voice actors, we have Bobby, we have Wesley. Y'all don't even see him, but he is here in spirit. Hire us and give us money, and we could do this full time.
Wesley actually left. We talked so long, his phone died. So Bobby, would you like to beg for a job in an industry since that's what we're doing?
No, I'm good. My work is getting a new general manager. Just for Wesley to check out centerforprisonreform.org. I sent a link to the GroupMe.
I linked it in the chat too, so you can see it as well.
Yeah,
getcha. I'll create a note for episode 128. And while we were doing this, I downloaded I'll make a note for number 129. I downloaded 128 while we were doing this, so I'll get that edited and uploaded at some point.
All right, guys, join us next week when we find out who the father is.
Yeah.
Done.
Good night.
Bye.